There was an Indian sage from the last century by the name of Nisargadatta Maharaj, and he had quite a famous quote. And the quote is, when I look inside, I see that I am nothing, and that's wisdom. And when I look outward, I see that I am everything, and that's love. And between these two, my world turns. By looking within and seeing that I am nothing, it can sound a bit intimidating, like I'm not sure that's a good idea. But when we actually are willing to see what's actually living this life and begin looking below the surface layers. By surface layers, I just mean all the ways that we identify ourselves. Name, age, gender, profession, family situation, 401k plan, neighborhood, all of that. Ideas, opinions, hopes, fears, dreams, regrets, all of that. Right? So those things, we all know, change over time. And what we really are can't be subject to variability over time, where it's like there's nothing solid there. If it's based on an opinion, yeah, but my opinions when I was 18 years old aren't what they are now. And so maybe the opinions that I have now aren't going to be the ones that I'll have 5 years from now or next year. So how solid is any of that? So that's what I mean by, dropping down below the surface layers and see what's actually living this life. And when we get down far enough and sort of turn our attention inward, what do we find? It's sort of like, the classical analogy is like peeling an onion. You peel away these layers after layers of superficial identities, and when you get all done, what do you have? A bunch of layers laying on the counter, and nothing, there's not a core, not a seed inside there, it's just all layers. And so when we really look within, what most people do is they look within and ask themselves the question, well, who am I really? And what do you come up with? Most people at that point just draw a blank, like, I don't know. And the difficulty is that we expect to find sort of a better, improved personal me. That's what we want, and that's what we're looking for, And I just have to sort of get my concepts together, and I'll discover what that is. Or have the right experience, or have the right guru, or have the right set of philosophies, and then I will feel like, okay, that's my identity. But that's just another layer, right? It's because the reason I say that is whatever that construct is, whatever the philosophy or the experience, there's something prior to that knows that you had that experience or knows that you have that philosophy. And so there's something prior to whatever it is that is manifested at any time. Does that make sense? It's just stepping back and seeing, yes, that's a more refined, maybe a little closer to being, the truth, but it's still, I'm still looking at it, right? I'm still looking at the experience. I'm still aware of the experience that I'm having, no matter how profound it may be. I'm still looking at, noticing this philosophy that I've sort of structured together, and there's something that knows that, that's aware of the fact that I've put this philosophy together. So there's always something prior to that, and what's prior to that is what? It's just this capacity to be aware of it, to notice it, to be present for whatever that experience is, right? But in itself isn't a thing. It doesn't have, because anything that we can imagine or construct somehow, anything is something that we can look at. So what we're talking about is the ultimate subject, right? That which is aware of everything else. And the difficulty in seeing it is because it is the one that's seeing. Right? I'm not using seeing in terms of eyeballs, I'm just seeing in terms of being present for whatever the experience is. And the difficulty is we can never look at that any more than an eyeball can look at itself. Or a knife can cut itself. Because it is what is ultimately aware of whatever may be arising, right? So what do you call that? So it's been called nothing or emptiness, that's mostly Zen talk, because they don't want people to get identified with an object. It's the same reason that in Christianity they didn't like idols, right? They didn't want to create a form, when what we're really talking about is the formless presence that is aware of whatever's arising. Right? Or same in Jewish traditions, never uttering the word for God, right? Because anything that we create as a concept is then, again, outside of what we truly are. So it's just that willingness to just step back and really see what it is that is perceiving everything. And then once that's seen, it actually doesn't matter what you call it. We can call it awareness, consciousness, Buddha nature, Christ consciousness, the natural state, we can call it the unborn, we can call it all kinds of things. Doesn't matter, right? But what's important is to recognize what that is and know that it is not something that has to be believed. It's not something that has to be imagined. It's not something that has to be earned, surprisingly. Something that has to be recognized. It's already present. We miss it because it's so close. We're looking for it out. We're looking for sort of resolution to my life's problems, and we're looking for it out here somehow, for life to provide me with the answers, the experience, the situation, the feeling, the right set of thoughts, the beliefs, the achievements. So we're looking for resolution in all the wrong places. They can be wonderfully satisfying, they're just not permanently satisfying. And so what we can perhaps recognize is that there's something already present that is aware of all those wins and losses, aware of the disappointments and the achievements and the, physical sensations, pleasant or unpleasant, the memories, everything. And there's that is already infinitely larger than whatever happens within that field of awareness. So in a very real sense, the entire appearance of the world happens within that awareness. Everything that we've ever experienced in our whole life has happened because we were aware of it within the perceptual abilities of this body-mind, and then there was this awareness that was present for it. So we can call it, when I look inside there, I see nothing, and that's wisdom. It's nothing is just a name, another name for this very alive capacity that we all have already fully. It's not something we have to develop over time, not something that we can improve. It's complete as is. This awareness, your awareness, everybody's awareness, done. However, when that sort of very pure awareness is filtered through these thoroughly conditioned bodies, then it looks like this here and it looks like that there. It looks different. All of us, we have, when we were born, when we were conceived, we had a certain physical programming, right? Our bodies were programmed to, tall or short, blonde or brunette, male or female. That's all, a certain kind of programming, not a problem. But then during this lifetime, we've picked up other conditioning along the way through early childhood and every relationship and situation that we've had since. And, we form these mostly unconscious strategies about how to respond to that. And much of it's quite functional, and some of it isn't. And the ones that, the kind of conditioning that isn't that functional, in other words, doesn't serve our deepest desire, can cause us problems, can cause other people problems, through, anger, resentment, jealousy, regret, all of that. So we can see that if we take that conditioning to be who I am, then it's challenging, right? If it feels like what I am, the entirety of what I am is this body, this mind, and my story, and how that looks, and how I am limited in some way as a result of what's gone before. But if there's a recognition that what I really am is this spacious awareness, yes, there's a body, yes, it's conditioned. Okay. Would it be nice if it were a little bit more like this than that? Yeah. Okay. But is it who I am? Not ultimately. And what we're talking about here is something that is not necessary. Actually, it's it's counterproductive, totally counterproductive to take it on as a belief, right? I guess I'm this awareness. All right, I'll go with that. But if we really sense into it and recognize that this awareness that we pointed to at the beginning in the meditation, that awareness that's already fully present, if we can just sense into that and notice that our life unfolds within that knowing capacity, then the conditioning is still there, but we're looking at it from a different perspective. We're looking at it from a much more spacious perspective. It's almost like, it's a little bit like, kindly grandparent taking care of a small child. The child's going to break things and fall down and, cry and do whatever, and do fun stuff too. But the kindly grandparent's like, yeah, it's just a phase. So we can look at this conditioning and say, well, it's just a phase. We believe that's what I am. At some point, it feels like these conditioned patterns are so familiar and so repetitive that it begins to feel like they're not software, they're hardware. They're built in. It's just how I am. Right? Does it ever feel like that? But it's not. It's just all patterning, programming, conditioning. Okay, so that's looking within and seeing that what I essentially am is this spacious, empty, alive presence. And then what happens when I look without? It looks like this. Looks like the world. Right? Go about your day and this kaleidoscope of images and things happening, always changing, sometimes surprising, sometimes wonderful, sometimes not. But always this very dynamic change. And where is that happening? Is it happening outside? Or is the whole show unfolding within this awareness that we are? And if it's all happening within this awareness, is it other than me? Or is it just what this consciousness seems to be able to do is perceive something that's quite amazing. But the only way that we know any of it is sight, sound, hearing, tasting, touch. Those are our portals, right? That's how we experience everything. But all of that is only experienced within these bodies. Yes? I mean, our brain has gotten good at, converting the signal that it gets to visualizing this three-dimensional world and other people and everything, just this amazing amazing creation, but the only way any of us know any of that is happening is through receiving information within our own body. And that information is recognized by awareness. So in that very real sense, the entire world appears within the awareness that we are. And so from that perspective, nothing is outside. There is no other. There's appearances, but this, what we say is my own body is also an appearance. I mean, we only know that we have a body by the same way. We can feel it, we can look at it, we can sense into it, from the inside. We can notice the thoughts happening in it. But all of that also only appears within awareness. So this, on the one hand, it feels like, well, this nothingness, there's not much to hold on to there. Yes, and yet it has the unique quality of not being subject to change, not being subject to coming and going. It's alive, always present, but it's not subject to the laws of birth, life, and death. Because it's not of this same world. It's not of the world of form. It's the one thing, not a thing really, but the one thing that is not of this world of form. It doesn't have a shape or a size or a duration or color or gender or flavor or age or any of the things that define things in this world. It doesn't have a shape. Right? So, but the recognition of this awareness is what liberates, because it is already free. So this is good news, because freedom isn't something that we earn, doesn't require decades, doesn't require decades of meditation. Meditation may be helpful. Probably its biggest help is that it's an opportunity to be quiet enough to see what actually goes on inside our own head. And that's, to see the mechanics, to see the sort of repetitive quality of our thoughts. So when this awareness is first encountered, it can feel like, oh, I've discovered my awareness, right? My personal awareness. Like it feels local. And I'd suggest that the reason it feels local is because we're so used to these bodies perceiving what's happening in their locality. We can see things that we can see, we can hear a certain distance, we can feel things that actually come in contact with. So we sort of assume that this awareness must also be local somehow. But when we really sense into it, we can't find a limit to it. In other words, whatever we may notice, I mean, if we, think about our foot, we direct our attention there, but then we have the sense of the foot, but that we're aware of that, and so the foot is within this field of awareness. But the same is true when we look up at the stars at night. How do we know that there's stars there? Because they appear within awareness, within our body's ability to perceive, and there's an awareness of that. So the freedom is when we begin to realize that what is truly living this life is already free. We don't have to attain that freedom. We don't have to earn that freedom. It's something that we can recognize as already the case. What gets in the way of that recognition is our dogged insistence that there must be a personal me here somewhere. Gotta be. Yeah. That's what we were taught. There's a body, no doubt. There's a mind, clearly. There's memory. There's a storyline. All of that's undoubtedly present. Thoughts, feelings. We know what our name is, where we live. All of that's relatively true. It's just not absolutely true. By true, I just mean what's true for all people at all times, under all circumstances. Compared to which everything else is less true. And when we apply a definition like that, what we find is that this awareness is common to all of us already. May be clouded by opinions and ideas or physical handicaps or diseases and so on. But the what is aware even of those limitations is also pure. Couldn't be otherwise. And we miss it because we believe that there's certain things that we must do in order to earn our right to be fully human. We have to clean up our act or eat the right diet or have the right thoughts or not have those kind of thoughts. And in the meantime, the awareness is already as it is. And the relief of that recognition is that since that awareness is beyond the realm of birth, life, and death, in other words, beyond the world of form, it is also free from fear of being in this world of form. We get to enjoy it, participate in it, and at the same time know that ultimately it's not our true home. So this one awareness is what functions through and as these body minds. And it's already doing it. It's not like we have to learn how to do it. We have to learn how to function as that, but we're already doing it. We just think that, no, it's me, I'm doing it. Me as a personal self, I'm the one doing it. And I've just got to do it better, by God. And maybe one day I'll do it good enough that I'll really be worthy. But this is all just thought, right? Just a thought believed is enough to keep us imprisoned, keep us hobbled.